Welcome to the Rap Throwback. It's your boy Diz Megatron. On today's episode, we got the Daniel Jordan on the line. We've been following Daniel Jordan for quite some time, and it's hella dope to get him on the show. So sit back, relax, pour yourself a little something, or smoke him if you got him, and check it out. Congrats on the new record, man. It's dope.
Thank you, sir.
So what's the concept behind The Dark Night of the Soul?
Well, basically, like over the year 2020, I had a lot of free time to myself in quarantine, and just kind of the energy from the world. It was very dark, you know. A lot of people were getting sick and dying from a virus, people rioting, going crazy. And it kind of like got me inside of my head a little bit. And this concept I started kicking around, which is like a philosophical term, the dark night of the soul. It's when you like hit a certain point in your life and you're kind of seeing things as they are, and you hit a little bit of a depression because, life is becoming a little bit futile. And I really wanted to expand on that idea. And I felt like what I was going through at the time of my life was the perfect time to kind of harness that energy. And that's mainly what it's about.
Nice. I follow you on social media, and I can see that because you're out there in the outdoors, and it's like you're seeking some serenity. You know, you're out there in Arizona, and it must be beautiful out there. Hot, but nice.
Oh, yeah, it is. And the good thing out here, like I live right by a mountain, so I'm constantly in nature. So that's kind of the duality of the situation, you know?
Yeah.
You take the darkness that you have, and it's kind of like you're working it out, whether it be creatively or physically. So that's kind of how I find my balance.
How long has this album been in the making?
Mainly over the course of 2020, so a year.
Nice. Perfect year to just hunker down and get some music done.
Yeah. It would honestly, hey man, if we get more years like that, it'll probably be my most creative times in my life.
Yeah. I read the Fago Lovers interview you did, and you said if you're still rapping at 50, you're too old. But your answer really didn't have anything to do with age or money. I felt like it had to do with the state of mind. Like you didn't want to be in this state of mind at 50.
Yeah. Well, if you listen to the topics that I speak on, a lot of it kind of like self-analytical, and I'm like really like pulling out my demons inside of me and putting them out to the world. And I feel like if I continue doing that in my later stages of life, I feel like it'll be unhealthy. And I kind of want to be over all of that by the time I hit my 50s. I want to be at peace so I can not have to like pull this dark energy out of myself.
So I want to go over a few tracks with you. But before that, we love talking about cover art on this podcast. I think it's like an art form. Why don't you explain the cover art for Dark Night of the Soul?
I just wanted to take things back to like when I was, in high school. I was a big fan of No Limit album covers and things of that sort, where you would buy an album just based on the cover alone, and you couldn't wait to get home and put it in the CD player and check out the artwork while you're listening to it. So I kind of just wanted to give it a whole old school vibe to it,
Yeah.
And I got my old school car that I've been working on for the last decade, my 64. And I was like, you know what? I think it would be baller as fuck, just like pimp shit, just posting on top of it, with the Bay Bridge in the background, Golden Gate.
Yeah, it's dope.
I just wanted to like give a nod to the old school with it.
And I think you did a good job of that. You nailed it. That's the vibe I got when I looked at it. And I was like, man, this text on here takes me back to like those No Limit covers almost. Not as exaggerated, but that gold outline, it's like, this is dope.
I worked with a really cool cat, man. I found him just looking at, I just looked on Instagram, #pen and pixel. And it's this cat out of Germany that I found. And he ended up like lacing my shit up really dope. And It was just a random thing. It just happened to be like right place, right time.
Yeah. It's cool that you came out with a physical CD that we can actually hold in our hands while we listen to your tracks. And It's really well done. It's got the purple in the back, that I love CDs that have like photos behind them, behind the CD, instead of just the
Yep.
black. Um, that was dope. And looking at the tracks, looks like you produced the majority of this, if not everything. And I didn't know that
Yep.
you were into making beats and stuff. What's that process like, rapping over your own tracks? And tell us who your biggest influences are.
Well, like producing is something that I've always kind of done. I've taken breaks from it at times, but given like a lot of free time over the last year, it was something that I wanted to get back into. So as I was making this album, I was just doing a lot of beats at first, not knowing what I was going to do with them. And the more beats I started making, all these song ideas started coming to me, and it was just kind of a serendipitous kind of thing. I was just like making a collage with sounds and samples of, tracks I enjoy. And I'd say DJ Quick was probably one of my biggest influences as far as like production. The way his early shit, the way he would take samples, he just did it so damn good.
Mm-hmm.
And especially like Shock G, Paris. I'm very influenced by like, the West Coast sound, because that's kind of what I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just kind of like, yeah, inspired by those guys.
Yeah, those guys are, man, they're classic, man. I've listened to a lot of their stuff, man. So love those guys. You put this record out yourself, Kill All Idols Records, and I'm wondering why do that instead of like shopping it around labels? Because there's some people that will just do digital now and not even bother with the physical. But you did both, which is dope. But you also cut out the middleman and didn't like shop it around. Tell us about that.
Well, I wanted to give the people that listen to my stuff, like I wanted to give them a professional product. And at this stage in my career, I've been able to, build my own audience and set up like my own pipeline to where I didn't need anyone else. So I could have shopped it around and given someone else a cut, but I was like, I don't have the biggest fan base in the world, but the fan base I do have, they're loyal and they're collectors, and they'll be willing to, part with their money if they feel like they're getting their money's worth. I never wanted to like rob my audience,
Yeah.
So if that means I got to go the extra mile and even fork out a couple dollars and really take some time with it, if I'm giving the people that buy my shit a product I can stand by, that's all that matters to me.
Well, I think you really nailed it. It took me back into when, my younger days, when I got to open up a CD and listen to it, at the same time, like I'm looking at the cover art and just like absorbing it. And that's something that I got with Dark Night of the Soul. So props on that, man.
Thank you, man. And nowadays, music is so digestible. To get someone to part with their money and actually buy a CD from you, that's saying a lot. So when I'm putting out something, I know I want to give it my all. So the people will feel good about parting with their money,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, when I was a kid, I had to work, I did like little shitty jobs and stuff. You'd catch me at record stores for like 3 hours, just ready to spend $15. And, we had aisles of hip hop music, and we'd just be cruising through the cover art. I'd be looking at the record labels, picking up anything that was familiar to me, anything, and artwork took it a long way. There's probably a lot of good shit that I missed out on because I didn't like the cover art, but it is what it is.
Well,
So.
When you're young, $15 is not easy to come by, especially, you might even be at that age where you're too young to even get a real job. So you'd probably have to, I know I had to like mow lawns and wash cars to come up with $15 to buy one CD. So if I put that money down on one CD, it had to be something that I really believed in.
Yeah.
And that CD I would listen to for years to come, because I know you kind of correlate the work that you put in to get that album with the music itself. It takes you back to that time.
Well, it's a great record. It's got several tracks that are like tracks of the year for me. And that's saying something. As I'm at this age, this year, I don't really find a lot of current music that I really enjoy as much as like I've enjoyed this one, you know, so nice work.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you'd go over a few tracks with us and the thought process and inspiration behind them. Like my favorite one that just blew my mind was Everywhere. Let Me Be the One. Like I've never heard that, you know, sample done like this. And
Yeah, that one was like, it was kind of ballsy for me to do for myself. Cause, in my last relationship, it was a song that me and my ex-fiance, we would listen to a lot on road trips, and we'd just vibe out to it together. And once that relationship ended, I couldn't even bring myself to like listen to that song. Whenever it would come on my shuffle, I'd have to skip past it. I remember one time I was road tripping to San Diego with my mom, and she had that on her shuffle, and I made her change it. And she's like, "I thought you loved this song." I'm like, "No, I don't want to hear it." And she like realized why. She's like, "Oh shit, okay."
man,
So I couldn't even listen to it, but as a way of healing, after enough time had gone by, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to see if I can handle it. So I did. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take it a step further and see if I can even flip this. So I did, and it turned out dope. The beat was amazing. To me, I loved it. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to just completely take ownership of this. I'm going to like get over that past shit, and I'm just going to make something out of it.
man, you killed it. You took ownership of it, man. You made it yours.
Thank you.
It's a dope track.
And also with that track, it's about a stalker fantasy where like, you know, a guy's stalking a girl everywhere she goes in order to get her to fall in love with him. And it's inspired by like that show on Netflix called You, which a lot of girls are big fans of. And even that movie Buffalo 66,
Mm-hmm.
where basically, you know, you got this handsome stalker guy that is like kind of like manipulating a girl to fall in love with him in a sense. And I don't know, I just always thought that was a crazy concept, and I wanted to put it into a song.
I'm going to check out those flicks because I really want to get into, you know, the concept of this track. I mean, I obsess over tracks I love, man. This one, I love what you did. I thought it was perfect. I was going to watch Mortal Kombat today, but I'm going to put these on my list too, man.
I'm that same way. If I love a piece of art, I have to like find out what inspired that. And it's kind of like walking in the footsteps, walking in the shoes of the person that made it, and
That's
kind of
right.
feeling what they felt, you know?
Yeah. So the next track I want to talk about is the one you did a video for. I Don't Want to Be Me Anymore. What was going through your mind while you were doing this video? And the track, man, the track is so dope.
I was just going through a lot of like, you know, personal issues at that time in my life when I was making it, you know, kind of like the state of the world kind of had me down.
Yeah.
And when I was making that, I came up with the idea. I was like, you know what? I want to be hung on a cross in a video, like Nirvana, how they had that, you know, that video, or even like Tupac on the Machiavelli cover.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how this is going to be possible, but fuck it. I put that positive energy out in the world that I can get this done. And sure enough, I ended up, one of my friends, his name's Uncle Phoenix. He lives out here. His dad is a carpenter. And I just brought up the idea to him. And sure enough, in like a week, they had a 10-foot tall cross made for me.
Nice.
And we shot the video in a couple days. Like, we dragged that fucking thing through the desert. It weighed, no doubt, like 200 pounds. And for the shot, we had to do it, man. Slap that fucker on my back and did like 5 or 6 takes with that shit on my back. It was brutal. But for the sake of the video, we got it done, man.
Damn. Well, hey, it's good that it's brutal, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got
gotta
that little
suffer for your art.
experience. That's right.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's more real that way. If you don't suffer for your art, then what's the point?
That's right. And then the last track I want to talk to you about is What Am I Going Through? I love that track. It's crazy. Tell us about that track. What inspired it?
That track was actually made at the very end of the sessions I did for this album called Till Death Do Us Part that came out the year before.
Yeah.
And as I was wrapping that album up, I ended up making this song. after I'd seen the movie Midsummer, which a lot of people love, a lot of people hate. I don't know. I'm kind of in between on it, but it definitely inspired me to come up, with a song about my own experiences of a relationship ending. And that song, man, like that was like the first beat I made on my MPC when I got one in 2020. And that one, I just really, I was inside my head just reflecting on that relationship that ended. And I wanted to create something that kind of like was like, reality, the things that you go through as a person can be scarier than any horror movie. I feel like reality is the true horror movie when everything kind of turns on you.
Yeah. Yeah, heartbreak, man, it's a bitch, but it could be a stepping stone to some big creativity, I think.
Oh yeah, man, it's my greatest fuel. If ever I'm heartbroken or going through some shit, I internalize it. Like I don't even talk about it with anyone. I just, put on a happy face and, act like it never happened. But when I have my creative time, that's where I let all that shit out.
Nice.
And I know it can be polarizing. Some people can like it, some people can't, but that's just, it's my way of getting my shit out. And when I make my stuff, I never really cared if, as long as I'm feeling like it's right in the moment, then I feel like I'm doing the right thing.
Listening to your style, these tracks, it mixes a lot of rock and rap, like all in one. Mm-hmm. As an old school cat myself, I'd say that you're carrying that acid rap torch to a degree. It's banging.
Thank you. Like, I'm a big fan of like, the old school shit, like especially the like Kill the Fetus, that era. I felt like he capsulated something with that album that I feel like a lot of people could expand on.
Yeah.
Like they could go back to that because there's a lot of shit going on in that album, or like Closed Casket even.
Yeah.
Where I feel like that style could still be fresh today if people did it right.
Yeah, we love digging into that old shit, that old school shit on this podcast. Of course, me and Dre, we've been listening to this shit for ages. Mm-hmm. That classic 90s shit for sure. Across your career, you've had some interaction with legends like Mac Mall, Dolemite, Esham, and Mastamind. Mm-hmm. As a big Esham fan myself, I first heard you on Call the Police. Mm-hmm. What was it like working with Esham, and how did you guys connect?
Man, it's been awesome. I met him in like 2007, 2008. I just slipped him a CD with like 4 tracks on it. And him and his manager at the time, TJ, I gave it to them behind a venue at a show. I just happened to see them parked in their van. And nice. I passed them the CD, and just a few hours later after the show, they listened to it and they called me up. And from then on, that's when everything just kind of started. Nice. And it was amazing, man. I was young then. I was like 21, 22. Mm-hmm. And just being a young kid, I was definitely immature and a fucking knucklehead at the time, but I was getting a lot of game that I didn't even realize until looking back now. Just kind of watching someone who, I idolized and looked up to and just kind of saw how he operated. So for being like a young kid who's just wanted to get in the game, that was the best kind of school you could ever ask for,
Yeah. I mean, the guy is like the genius of Detroit. Like it's like, for me, it started there in Detroit with that man. So that's dope.
From being just like a young artist, more so than just like, him originating, a sound, he also originated something that people do today, which is the independent hustle. Like him and Too Short were basically the originators of that shit, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. And to this day, he's still like, he built his pipeline throughout the years, and he has his way where he can release music without any help from anyone. So being able to like witness a person's blueprint who started that shit was amazing. I think that's kind of what I took out of it.
Nice. So final question about, your interaction with these guys. Do you got any, hilarious stories from behind the scenes with these dudes, either on the road or the studio?
Let me see if I can think of one that won't incriminate all of us.
Yeah. Take your time.
man, we've done so many crazy things. Like me and TJ got into a fist fight in Finland that Esham had to break up.
Oh, damn.
And then we hugged it out after. I mean, God, there was one time we were taking these chicks that we met from the I can't say it. Esham wasn't in the car for this one, but we met some chicks outside the venue, and we were taking them back to the hotel. And I remember like we stopped at like some gas station to get like some beers or something. She's like, it was like I think 2 chicks. She's like, I hope you don't think we're gonna fuck you all. You know, we're not those kind of girls. I'm like, all right, let me just talk with my boys real quick. You want to go get the beers for me? She's like, you're not going to leave us here, are you? Like, man, I gave you $20. I'm not going to leave you here. You got my money. And then as soon as they go get them, I'm like, drive.
Nice.
And we left them there in the middle of nowhere.
Damn.
$20.
That
was a funny one.
Yeah, they got phones, man. They'll find their way home.
Exactly. Just all kinds of shenanigans like that, man. Like, oh, God. A lot. We used to, partake in the psychedelics back then too, and go on stage like on all kinds of shit, and God, crazy times, man. We're definitely living like punk rockers.
Nice, man. Nice. Now you're a Bay Area guy.
Yep.
And recently, we lose Shock G. How does that hit you, man?
Man, that one, DMX died and it sucked, man. Like, I grew up. It was terrible. But then when Shock G dies, now it's like really hitting close to home, because Shock G is like, he's basically like the mayor of the Bay Area.
No doubt.
He started all that shit. Him and Too Short, basically. Mm-hmm. It's the Mount Rushmore of the Bay Area. So when you're growing up, you look at these people in the highest regard. They're like deities to you,
Yeah.
So losing him, and I never knew him personally, but like I know many people that do. Like Ray Love and Mac Mall, who are 2 real good friends of mine. They knew him really well. Shock G put Ray Love and Tupac on together at the same time. They just kept Tupac, and Ray Love ended up signing with Kyrie and Young Black Brother. But even to this day, him and Shock G were very close. And he was just posting like just little video messages Shock G would send to him, like text him through his phone. And it's crazy to see, like, the 6 degrees of separation, how someone you kind of like grew up idolizing, but like people you actually know are personally affected by it,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of pictures coming up on social media of a young Tupac and Shock G. And it's like, Shock G, I feel like just didn't get the props for bringing this guy up, put him in the spotlight, really giving him a shot. It's dope. And of course, Shock G did great music himself. No doubt.
Dude, Shock G if people don't realize, he was like the next generation of like George Clinton and even Prince.
Yeah.
He was a straight up musician. I saw him in Oakland one time at a jazz bar. He just popped up and randomly did like a piano set, just him and a piano.
That's crazy.
He was that type of guy. He was just like a musician's musician,
Yeah. So what's next for Daniel Jordan, and, how can we keep up?
Well, I mean, right now I've just been promoting this album, but it's been out for like a month now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I need a break to decompress from music. I was like, making these albums take a lot out of me. But next thing you know, man, I started picking up my fucking beat machine again. And here we go. It's like, man, these albums are kind of torturous to make, but
yeah, when you have
this energy inside of you, if it hasn't gone away, then more music will come.
That's dope, man. There you have it, folks. Daniel Jordan. Get that new record at killedbylove.com. You also have your stuff on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, everywhere.
Yep.
Thanks for calling in on the Rap Throwback, man, and we'll keep up to date with what's going on, man. We got a whole library of your stuff to check out, man, and talk about. So,
hell yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get you back on again. Talk about some of these old records, man.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it, and it's good to hear from you.
Ladies and gents, Daniel Jordan. You can pick up his record at killedbylove.com. I'll leave a link in the show notes. Support that real shit, man, and big shout out to Daniel for calling in. That's a wrap on the throwback. We out.